Hey all, Mr. Lapeze here with our final video related to a major essay this semester. Um, Basically what I want to do with this video is run through some quick examples of in-text citation, so how to document your quotations, any borrowed information or ideas within your paragraphs for essay number 2. And then on the second page I have some reminders, general reminders about your essay. Last major essay, essay number 2, before the final exam, and coming up pretty soon. So what I have here are 4 examples on this Word document of the most common ways I think you'll encounter getting material into your body paragraphs from another source material. How to document them with quotations and signal phrases. So I'm going to go through those really quickly. These first 2, you'll notice, deal with paginated sources. All that means is a source material that has page numbers. And so obviously that will include everything from our They Say, I Say textbook, and then any of your research materials for essay number 2 that have page numbers. These are the models that I'm providing for you right now. So the first one says paginated source with the author in the signal phrase. So what we have here is a source material that has page numbers, and when you write your sentence to include the quotation, you include the author's name in the sentence. In other words, something like this. In a tax system stacked against the 99%, there's your essay title in quotation marks. In a tax system stacked against the 99%, Joseph E. Stiglitz writes. So there's the author name. Author, title of the work from which the quotation will come. And so this full thing is your signal phrase. It signals to your reader, whoever's reading your paper, where the quoted material, the borrowed material comes from. So we know it comes from this essay written by this dude. And then you get the quotation within quotation marks. Research in recent years has linked the tax rates, sluggish growth, and rising inequality. So what we have here is a paginated source. This is from our They Say, I Say book. We have the source material itself and the author in the signal phrase. So here's the author. And so your citation at the end of the sentence will look like this. Parentheses around the page number from which the quotation derives, open and close on each side of the page number, period after the citation. A tip, even if you're borrowing a sentence or 2 inside the quotation marks, and they end in a period in the original source. So in the Stiglitz essay, let's, for example, say that this sentence ended with a period. You do not put the period inside the quotation marks here and include one after the citation. You don't need this period. You shouldn't have it. You only end the sentence one time with a period, and it comes after the citation. So this is a good example of signal phrase, author within the signal phrase, and the citation. This is the page number from which this quotation here derives. Same exact source, same exact quotation, but for this one, the author is not listed in the signal phrase. Let's just say, for example, you've quoted from the Stiglitz essay 2 times in the previous paragraph and 1 time in this paragraph we're talking about now. And you've said his name so many times that the reader is clear on where the material comes from. And saying his name, Joseph Stiglitz, or Stiglitz in your paper 1 more time sounds completely redundant. It's not necessary and it sounds strange to you. You might have a signal phrase that looks something as simple as this. The author writes. We know there is an author. We know he wrote it or she wrote it. And here is the quotation. Research in recent years has linked the tax rates, sluggish growth, and rising inequality. Same quotation in this example. The only difference is we have the author in the signal phrase, so no name. And here we had his full name. So full name, or name, author's name, even if it was just the last name, if the author is listed in the signal phrase, page number only in the citation. No author in the signal phrase, your citation will look like this. Same page number, but before the page number, you put the author's last name in the parenthetical citation. And if you can't see, there is a space here. So what you have is author last name, Stiglitz, space, page from which the quotation derives. Open and close parentheses on each side, period at the end. So here, author list in the signal phrase, only had the page number. Here, author not listed, you need author, last name, and page number. These last two examples are for non-paginated sources. This will include for lots of y'all your research materials, some if not all of your research materials, because web sources, not all the time of course, but quite often web sources are not paginated. There's no page numbers. So very simply, if your author, for this I chose a Paul Krugman essay from the New York Times, if your author is listed in the signal phrase, like this example number 3. However, Paul Krugman, in his essay titled The Very Strong Case for Bidenomics, argues, signal phrase, full signal phrase here before the quotation. If author is listed in there, there are no page numbers, so this is a non-paginated source. You will simply end your quotation, period, inside the quotation marks, and that's it. No citation because there's nothing to put there. You have the author's name already in the sentence, no page number for the source, so you just close the sentence with a quotation mark, period, inside of it, and that's it. On the other hand, if you do, you have a source that's not paginated and you don't list the author in the signal phrase, you will list the author's last name in the citation. That's where you'll put the author's name. You need some way to signal to your reader, this is where the material comes from. And if it's a non-paginated source, and your author is not listed in the signal phrase, you'll put the author's last name in the citation. So same exact quotation, and this is what you have. However, and then your quotation, even before the coronavirus, good employment numbers could hide underlying economic weakness. And then you have your signal phrase, argues the author. So the author name not listed in the sentence, you need something here. There's no page number, so you put the author's last name only. Very simple. And then just some last minute reminders, y'all. These are general reminders about our essay number 2. Make sure you understand that everybody's essay should include ideas and or language borrowed from 6 places, no more or less. So nobody should have a works cited page with 10 entries. That's way beyond what I'm asking you to do. And nobody should have a works cited page with 2 entries. That's not enough. Everybody should borrow material from 6 sources. 3 of those sources should be from our class readings. We read the Boyd, Vance, Blanda, Stiglitz, and Alexander essays from They Say, I Say. So you'll choose 3 of those 5, and then you will add to them 3 of your own research materials. Most of y'all have already emailed you these emailed the materials to me, and I've looked at them. If I didn't get back to you, they're fine. Some of y'all emailed me more than 3. Just make sure you trim that number down to 3. I know some of y'all were waffling between sources. You liked 4 or 5 of them, but you have to narrow that down to 3. So 3 research materials paired with 3 class readings, 6 sources total. Make sure your essay addresses both the problem and the solution. This is just to make sure everybody's on topic and you completely, fully respond to the prompt. Make sure you just don't write about a problem related to inequality, and make sure you just don't talk about the solution. You need to address both. Make sure your essay is structured after one of the 2 models of argumentation you've read about and you've written about, the Rogerian or the Toulmin model. Remember, you don't need to list this anywhere. You don't need to label your essay as a Rogerian essay or a Toulmin model example. All you need to do is structure your essay in one of those 2 ways. The gist of it is Rogerian is a compromise between multiple points of view that are closely aligned, but they're not the same. They differ from each other. Toulmin model is almost identical to what you're used to, a thesis-driven argument where you argue your thesis, and when you raise counter-arguments, arguments counter to your own, you argue against them. You dismiss them. There's no compromise in a Toulmin. It is, let me think, if you disagree with me, here's why you're wrong and I'm right, and why. Rogerian is, yeah, you're right, kind of right, I'm kind of right, she's kind of right, he's kind of right. Let's all put our ideas together to come up with the best compromise idea. So one or the other, Rogerian or Toulmin. For those of y'all who've struggled to reach the page requirement for the mini essay and essay number 1, I mean, this is the essay that's worth the most, the only assignment this semester that's worth over 30% of the course. this is the one to push yourself. Try to reach those 5 full pages down to the very bottom of page 5 at minimum to avoid losing a letter grade. I don't want anyone to be accused of plagiarism on this last essay before the final. So make sure if you borrow ideas or language, so if you summarize, paraphrase, or quote, you give credit to the original source, the original author, and those the credit should appear both in the text, so in the paragraph where the borrowed material appears, and in the works cited. So you should have a works cited entry for every source you borrow from, and whenever you borrow in the text, you should have a citation. And finally, y'all, just how much it's worth. I mean, this essay is worth 35% of the semester, so way more than the final exam. The final exam is the only real major assignment after essay number 2, and it's only worth 15%. So not much at all compared to the 35% at stake here. Make sure you do your best. If you can squeeze in a final proofread or edit, if you can manage to use the ILC for help, the Real Center for help, and of course, always email me questions. I'm happy to help. This is the essay to do it. This is quite often what makes or breaks grades, whatever you're shooting for, A, B, or C. So do your best, get an early start, and let me know if I can help y'all. Best of luck. I'll be in touch between essay number 3 and the final exam, probably with another video for sure, with announcements and emails. And have a good week, y'all.